Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me down today to present Prota Structure. My name is Nigel. I'm originally from New Zealand. I've lived in Asia now for about 22 years, and I look after the Prota business across Asia Pacific, based out of Kuala Lumpur. A little bit about Prota. Well, Prota originally started its life as a consulting business and has grown to be one of the largest structural engineering practices in Turkey. It also is involved with development of software. So maybe what I'll do is just give you a quick little intro to Prota so you can get an idea of what we're about. So that just gives you a bit of an insight into what we at Prota do as a business. We are a very successful consulting engineering practice based out of Istanbul in Turkey. And we've done some very significant projects across Turkey and in about 30 countries around the world on our design practice. We also distribute and resell other products, including Autodesk, Revit, BIM technology related products. And as that video introduced, we also developed some fantastic software, which I'm here to talk about with you today. We are originally based out of Turkey, but Prota has worked, as I mentioned, in many countries around the world. Here in Asia, we are headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, and we have other satellite offices in Singapore and in Hong Kong. And this is our HQ in KL. So if you're ever passing through Kuala Lumpur and you'd like to visit us, you're more than welcome. Now, what is great about today is that I'm very proud to announce that Prota has joined forces in Thailand here with AppliCAD, who has been engaged as our dedicated reseller for Thailand. And AppliCAD will be providing direct technical support, sales, and training services to engineers across Thailand. And as well as, on top of that, we're also providing localized versions of the software to suit the way you design and produce buildings here in Thailand. So it's quite an exciting development, and we're very excited to be here and be working with AppliCAD in the years to come. So enough of me talking. What I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of the software. And to do that, I'm just going to start with a simple presentation which outlines how the software works. So just bear with me. I'm just going to set up a little presentation here. Okay. I believe I can drive this from the mouse. Let's see how we go. All right. So central to what we have with Prota is Prota Structure. So imagine that within Prota Structure, you can work with physical objects to develop models very quickly. Underneath that, as you're developing the model, you're applying your loading, but underneath that you have the analytical wire. And the analytical wire is being automatically generated. But coupled with that, we're also providing a dedicated design solution. So an intelligent way of designing all your members very rapidly. And we give dedicated treatment for specialist topics like seismic design, things like wind loading, things like foundation design, all in one model. Now, once you've built the model within Prota Structure and you've designed it, we then move into looking at how to produce drawings. And to do that, we have a dedicated platform called Prota Details. Now, Prota Details allows you to automatically lay out all your drawings into your title blocks and arrange them all quickly for production. It is a CAD platform. You can edit within Prota Details, and you can also design and detail other components within the Prota Details environment. Now, Prota Details works in DWG, but you can publish to other recognised CAD formats. Now, we recognise that steelwork is a little bit different, which is why we've also created something dedicated for dealing with steelwork detailing, which is Prota Steel. So the idea with Prota Steel is that once you've designed the structure in once you've designed your structure in Prota Structure, you send it to Prota Steel. We can then automate the connection design and start to produce all the steelwork detailing, right down to connection details. Now, let's not forget BIM, and I know that BIM's a very hot topic around the world, and we communicate our models directly with other leading platforms, including systems like Revit and ArchiCAD. To do that, we have things like bidirectional round tripping, and we can take models back and forward to manage the process of changes and refinement to the models as you move them from design to construction. We support a range of different formats, so if you're wanting to use IFCs, for example, we can publish those directly into ArchiCAD. We do work with other platforms like Tekla, ProSteel. We can even go down to shop drawing production, and NC files and so on can be generated from our systems to feed fabrication. Now, we're very open, so we make it easy for you to share information with other platforms, including general analysis systems like SAP and ETABS and LUSAS. So if you want to cross-check models from Prota Structure, we make those available to you, and you can easily cross-check results from our systems with other recognised platforms. Now, there's other formats as well that you would need to produce as an engineer. Obviously, things like calculation documentation. All the design that comes out of our system is all fully documented. All the detailed calculations are produced. You can also provide other formats like 3D DXFs, even down to STL files for printing. Okay? So this gives you an overview of our system. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to sit down. You'll have to excuse me. And I'm actually going to show you how it works. I'm going to take you through a simple model to give you an idea of what we do at Prota. Can you hear me? Is it clear? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take you through how the software works, and to do that I'm just going to build up a simple model. So when you start Prota Structure, if you're new to it, there are quick start guides, there's YouTube videos, there's tools in here to help you get up and running with the software quickly. Now we have regular updates to the software and they're all documented. Now what I'm going to do here is create a simple model. To do that, we'll just give this a name, so I might call this a Bangkok presentation. And we have studied different markets around the world, and we've got different templates here that you can load. So for Thailand, you're typically using the American codes here, and you can load these templates which will customize the way in which the design and the detailing is prepared. Now, if you're doing projects elsewhere around Asia, maybe you get a contract in the Philippines or Indonesia, there's other templates here that you can load, okay, to suit different markets that you may be working in. So I'm just going to bring these in and then move into the modelling environment. And what I'm going to do now is just build up a simple model. It won't take very long. I'm going to move quite quickly to give you a taste of the way it works. Now, if you have Revit or 3D information, you can bring this in as a starting point. You can also bring in, say, architectural drawings, and you can work on top of these to lay out your structural plan. If you have bigger projects, you can have 2 or 3 people working on different parts of the job, and you can combine these together into one model when you're moving towards design. I'm just going to create something simple here to give you an idea of how this works. So I'm going to key in a basic grid line arrangement here, and maybe a few axes here, and if I just hit OK, you can see that some grid lines have been set up here. Now these grid lines are dynamic, and we use these to help us with the set out. So what you're going to see as I'm going here is that this is going to start to look like a key plan. But the grid lines are dynamic, you can make changes to them. If you want to make a curved axis, for example, or maybe you've got a building where the facade's a little bit different and you want to set out things a little bit differently, then you can just come in here and draw out what you want. Any funny arrangement you can create here, and you can use those grid lines for set out. Now I'm going to work with physical objects, and you'll see here that I have selected a column, and you can see the preview of the column shape. So if I want to create that column, I can just click to put that in. If I have multiple columns that are the same, I can just click and box around. If I want to change the orientation of the column, maybe I'd like it to be in a different direction, okay, I can just box around and create those quickly. There are other objects that you can work with in here. You can work with different concrete or steel or built-up sections, cold form sections, even composite sections you can create in the model here quickly. Okay. If I want to maybe put in a couple more columns down the bottom here, maybe I've got another one there, I can just quickly set those up. Now I'm going to move in and put some walls in. I'm just clicking to create these walls. Okay. At the same time, I'm also going to create some beams. Now, again, you can play with the properties of the beams here. You can feed in the depth of the members. You can box around to put these in, and you can start to see that I'm now starting to create the shape. Okay, now even if it's that might crank and follow the curvature of that beam, that grid line, maybe I want to put in a curved member. The idea is that I can just quickly come in and create the structure. Now if you have lots of members in an area, you can just simply box around and they'll be created there. Okay. If I have, if I've got members through, we understand that these members already exist, so there's no overlapping, there's no double counting. It's just putting those 2 extra members in. Secondary beams you can just easily select and put members in very quickly. Okay. Now if you have certain set out, you can just key in a distance, and then it will pick that point up and you get handy points like the perpendicular. You can move these around to then adjust it to suit the architecture. So if I wanted to move it either way or just move it roughly into position, I can. It could be a single element. Maybe over here you'll see that I've got a number of columns here that are just jutting out from the facade, and I may just want to pick these up and move them. So you can easily just adapt the model to suit what we want to create. Now, at this point, I'm going to put some slabs in. Let's just assume that the slab is 200 thick. Okay. Now, the self-weight's calculated. You can have libraries of different finishes that you can draw upon. Live loading, if you're not sure, the code is in here, so you can just choose from different values in the code, and then you can quickly come and insert and create your slabs. Okay. Now, you can edit these. These values are editable. You can just type in the loading values that you want to use. They can be whatever values you wish, and you can just quickly come and create the slabs there. Maybe that's 3. Okay, and you can put that in. Now, what you might see here is that we're automatically working out the yield line for that slab. So underneath this, we're even as we speak, all the loading's automatically being distributed. Can't hear. Okay, sorry. All right, I'll get this a bit closer. Is that better? Okay. All right. So what you might see here is that I've the distribution of dead live and live loads automatically being carried out as we speak. Okay, so all this is handled automatically. You can use finite element analysis to distribute loads if you wish. Now you can have different types of objects in here. So if I wanted to create a slab which is a bit different, okay, we can draw out the profile of what we would like to create. Okay, we can then take another slab and we can come and create this. So I might have a slab that's maybe it's only 150 thick, and I want to drop the slab 100 millimeters. Okay. I may want to just change the way in which this is orientated in the model. Okay, so these things can be controlled, and then we can use that profile there to help us create that unusual balcony. Okay. Now, what you might not realise is that while I've been building this model, okay, we've actually been creating simultaneously a 3D model. Okay, so this is the underlying 3D model that has been driven from us working out that set out, and you can work in both 2D as well as 3D in the system. And the beauty of it too is that you can lay out other things, like maybe you've got things like openings in the model you wanted to have for services. The advantage with the 3D model is that if I got that position wrong, I can just pick up the opening and move it. Okay. There may be other things that you want to set out. You may have unusual drops and so on in the slab. Maybe you have a bathroom and you've got a set down. So in here I can just draw that out, and you can see that that's been created in the model. Okay. Other things like maybe if I come and select this wall here, we may like to include, say, a door opening or something like that. So I can come and put in openings in here. You can key in parameters for say a door, for example, and you can position it where you like. Okay, if you hit OK, then that door's then created and that opening's then created in the model. So the idea is that very quickly you can come and set these out. If you have other things that you want to put in, things like wall loading for beams, you can have libraries for different types of block work, and you can key in the value of the wall loading, and then that will be created on the beam. Okay. Now these can easily be copied, okay, and you can easily replicate these around the model. So if I wanted to quickly set up the wall loading around the perimeter of that building there, okay, we can then just copy and paste that, and you can see that those loads have been quickly set out. Okay. Now at this point, I'm just going to start to generate information up. This might be a typical floor. Maybe this is a 5-story high building. Okay, I can then take this floor and we can then copy. Okay, so I'll copy that up the model and hit OK, and you can see that this 3D model is now starting to be prepared. Okay. Now this, I can work in 3D. This is editable. If I want to make changes as I go, I can. Okay. Maybe there's other types of structural systems that we want to consider. So I may, in here, for example, maybe I want to select the beams at the roof there, and maybe I want to actually remove them. So now I'm just left with a flat slab system at the roof. Okay. We can easily come and adapt the model to suit. Okay. If you want to make other changes in here, you can. So if I decided that if I wanted to remove, say, the wall there, I could take that out. Over here at the moment, I've got a column. Maybe I'd like to make it a square column. Okay, we could just come and change the properties here to suit. Okay, and I might want this to be centroid. And then I could come and insert a drop head panel. So you've got different types of elements that you can work with in here to suit what you're trying to achieve in the structure. Okay, so if I come and reposition that in the model, okay, you might just see there that now we've got a drop head panel for the flat slab. Okay, so it just depends on what you're wanting to do as to how you might go about creating this. Now, at this point, let's go to the roof, and I'm going to start to work with a bit of steel work. So again, if you click on the model, you've got different section properties here that you can choose from. Okay, maybe you want to put in a column as a starting point, and then you can just choose a section that you might like to work with in the model, and then we can start to develop this. So I'm just putting in some columns there. They're quickly set out. Okay, if you then wanted to come in and create, say, a truss, I can just quickly insert the truss. Okay, you've got different types of truss systems that you can choose from. This is all flexible, set out and so on is all controlled here, and you've got a little 3D model here that you can preview. What you can do is start to work with this. So if I wanted to change, maybe I want back-to-back angles, for example, for my internals, okay, or maybe I'd like to use tubular sections or so on. All this can be edited to suit. Now I'm going to remove the two verticals there, and I'm then going to come and place this in the model. So you see that that truss has now been set up, and we can now work with that truss, and I can quickly come and replicate that across the building here. Okay. Now I may also want, at the same time, want to come in and actually I'll just close this window here so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I may at this point want to come in and put in a beam, so it could be a UB, and we can just choose a size as a starting point. Okay, I'm going to pin the ends of those beams, and I'm just going to come in and set out. So let's just put those members across the perimeter there to tie those frames together. I'm going to connect the apex here, and we can just, these are intelligent snap points, so you can snap to virtually anywhere you like, but let's just tie those tops there together. Now I guess laying out things like purlins and that can be a bit of a challenge. So in here you can just choose to the end bays, and it will propose to you a purlin arrangement. Okay. Now if you want to change this, maybe you'd like to have a different section. You may want to put in a cold form section, or maybe just a normal hot rolled steel section. You can come in here and choose from different sections here. I'll just edit that again. So maybe I want to choose a bigger section. We can come and select that. Now you can also assign, you've got sag rods in there that we've provided. If you want to remove them, they don't need to be there. It's up to you. You can also add loading. So I may have my cladding that I'd like to set up in here. Okay, we can then come and assign that to the model. Sorry, I'll just do that. So you can see the loading's been automatically distributed to the purlins. Okay, if I hit OK, our purlins are just set up. Okay. And the final thing I'm going to do here is, well, let's just put in a bit of bracing. So we can just choose a couple of planes, and there's different types of braces you can choose from in here to V brace, K braces and so on to be set up. And if you just hit OK, the brace is created there. So you can see here just very quickly I'm working with physical model to create our design model. Okay. So let's just come and pick that up, and we've got our bracing system done. The last thing I'll do just to finish this model off is let's just come and define some girts. So I can choose two end columns there. It will propose a girt arrangement. You can play with the spacing of these. Again, if I don't want to see the sag rods, I could turn those off if I don't want them in the model, and then they can be created there. Okay. Now the important thing to note with what I've done here is that if you can just see this, we're setting out everything physically as if you might build it. Okay, and that's very important, because from this model we're now going to start moving into design, and then we're going to start creating drawings. So we set out the physical model to create what it is that we want to actually draw at the end of the day. So I've done a basic model. Let's move into looking at the analysis and design. Okay, so it's just going to save this project, and then we can move through the design process. Okay. Give me a second. Let's grab some water. Okay, so I'm going to in the software here, there's different parameters that you can choose. So there's different codes of practice that we have as I mentioned earlier, if you're doing projects elsewhere, you may want to design to Eurocode or British standards or other codes of practice. You can just choose from here. So we've set this up to suit how you do things here in Thailand. You can also come and define your seismic parameters here. So in Bangkok here, I understand that you're medium soil, so you'd choose the soil class for setting up your seismic loading. You can choose different risk categories for your building structures. Okay, you can also come and define different structural systems. So I might have an intermediate moment resisting frame. It could be an ordinary RC walls. So it will adapt the spectral curve and design accordingly. Okay, you can play with the number of modes that you can consider. We also can check for irregularities. There's some quite sophisticated things that we do here with the seismic design. Load combinations can be difficult, but in here we actually set these up for you. So all the pattern loading, stage construction analysis we can run. Lateral cases for seismic can be established here, and you can choose, maybe you don't want to use vertical earthquake, for example, and you just want to look at a smaller number of cases. Wind loading and so on can be created. Now the beauty of this is that I can set all these analyses up and run them simultaneously. So stage construction analysis, P-delta, dynamic analysis are all run in one go, and all the combinations have been set up there automatically. Okay. Now wind loading, again, is very simple. You can just put in your basic wind speed. So I'm doing this to the American code, and then we will automatically calculate the pressures and the loading for you, and this will be assigned to the structure. Okay. So just within a few seconds, I've created all my load combinations, set up my seismic and wind loading, and I'm now ready to go. Now you can play with the grades of concrete, material grades can be played with here. You can also set up your preferences for design, bar sizes and grades of steel and so on can be set here. Okay. Now I'm now going to move into the analysis and design. I am going to choose to mesh my walls, and I can come and choose to mesh certain slabs in the model. So I'm going to mesh the fourth floor, and I can play with stiffness properties and so on, can be manipulated here to suit. Now analysis is just a button, and once we've done this, we can then move into running the analysis and design. So I'm just going to hit go. What we're now doing is we're taking that physical model and we're automatically working out the analysis model. The model does do checks as this is progressing, and it's now creating the underlying analysis wire, and it's performing the analysis. Okay. Now, the advantage with working with physical objects is that as we go, we're actually starting to build the analysis wire as we develop the model. So the analysis is very fast. In fact, and we use a sparse solver to give you very quick analysis results. So this model has about 27 different combinations and variations that we're setting up, and I think it's nearly done. You'll see that the analysis will be finished in a second. Okay. Now once the analysis is completed, we will then straight away move into the design. Okay, so just bear with me while this is running. My laptop's getting a bit warm. Okay, so the analysis is done. That took about 40 seconds for that building. That included me meshing those floors and walls and running all the different combinations. After the analysis, we do a number of checks. So it will check deformations. It will check whether the structure is braced or unbraced. It will perform a wide range of different checks to ensure that it meets the code requirements. And now it's moving in and designing everything. So it's designed, it's just finishing off the columns and the walls. Okay, this is a batch process. And we will then move into designing the beams and the steelwork. Okay, so all this happens, and it's all being driven from that one physical model. Okay. We'll just give it a few more seconds and we will be done. Okay. Now, we do, you may find that during the course of a job there are changes. Once you've done the design in here, we actually keep all the design. So all the steel, all the reinforcing is kept. And later on you have the option to do check design. So you can check the existing design that you have completed against the changes that have been made, and the software will highlight to you those members that may need to be redesigned. Okay, so we have features in here that will help you manage and maintain changes in the model. Okay. Sorry, this is a bit slower than normal. I think it's just my laptop, and also that I'm running a few applications there. Okay. Let's give it a second, and we'll be finished.
Okay, we waiting, right? Waiting, right? Let me summarize. Okay, ครับก็อันนี้ Prota Software นะฮะระหว่างที่รอก็เป็นครั้งแรกที่เข้ามาเปิดตัวนะฮะในประเทศไทยเป็นซอฟต์แวร์จากตุรกีนะครับแล้วก็มีแบรนด์ที่มาเลเซียครับเขาก็ทำงานซอฟต์แวร์ตัวนี้มาน่าจะ20 ปีแล้วนะครับตัวนี้เป็นซอฟต์แวร์สายวิเคราะห์นะผมว่านะวิเคราะห์โครงสร้างความแข็งแรงของอาคารครับก็เริ่มด้วยการขึ้นโมเดลก่อนนะครับเนื่องจากมีตัวซอฟต์แวร์ก็มี tool ในการขึ้นโมเดลง่ายๆจากที่เห็นไปแล้วนะฮะขึ้นโครงสร้างเสาคานพื้นอะไรต่างๆที่รับโหลดนะครับจากนั้นก็วิเคราะห์นะครับวิเคราะห์ตามด้วยโค้ดUS ยูโรนะครับแล้วก็เขาทำเทมเพลตของทุกประเทศใน Southeast Asia แล้วนะฮะของไทยก็เดี๋ยวเนี่ยจะเสร็จอยู่ประมาณเดือนหน้านะครับก็เลยถือโอกาสมาเปิดตัววันนี้เลยนะครับนี้การ พอวิเคราะห์เสร็จตัวนี้ก็ทำdrawing detailing ซึ่งก็จะมีอีกโมดูลหนึ่งซึ่งก็ลิงก์ data เข้าไปแล้วก็ทำดีเทลใส่เหล็กเสริมในพื้นในคานอะไรต่างๆอัตโนมัตินะครับแต่นี้เราก็ต้องเซตเทมเพลตของเราไว้ก่อนนะครับเราสามารถเข้าไปเซตเทมเพลตไว้ได้หลังจากนั้นก็มีตัว Prota Steel อีกนะครับซึ่งจะทำจอยของตัวเหล็กนะครับเหล็กรูปพันต่างๆนะฮะก็ทำได้ในตัวนี้ด้วยเหมือนกันนะครับอีกโมดูลหนึ่งก็คือ Prota BIM ซึ่งสามารถที่จะ Export โมเดลหรือ Import โมเดล BIM จากตัวอื่นๆสามารถลิงก์ตรงกับ Revit ได้เลยนะครับก็เป็นอีกโมดูลในการDesign Combination Check นะฮะเช็คตัวโมเดลต่างๆนะครับที่จะมาเชื่อมโยงกันโอเคครับ back to you
Okay, right. Thank you.
Result ออกมาแล้วครับโอเค
So what I was just doing while Samsak was talking is I just showed you the analysis results. So all the analysis you can interrogate, you can see all the different combinations, load cases, dynamic effects are all shown here. So think of this a little bit like SAP or STAD. Okay, you're able to interrogate all the results. But what we've also done at the same time is we've actually come in and designed this. So you can click on a column, you can see the design. Okay, all the detailed design checks are being performed. There's design reports in here that you can view to see how that's being done. Okay, you can also look at things like interaction diagrams. All these are shown. Okay, you can also look at loading results and so on, and here can be indicated. So that could be for a column. Okay, if I come to the beams, similarly the beams have been designed. Okay, I can select the beam here. You can see a basic schematic of the detail. You can look at your envelope diagrams. All these are being produced, all the different cases and combinations. And then under this though, there's the designs being done. Now if I change this, can you see that this has now failed because we have automated the design and it's dynamic and you can make changes to the detailing design if you wish. Underneath this though, what we are doing is producing a little drawing. Okay, so you can see a schematic of what you're going to create before it gets created. Okay. Now I could carry on and look at the other aspects of the design, but what I'm going to do to finish here is I just want to show you. Whoops, I've got another 3D view. Sorry, let me just. I'm just going to turn off one of these. Let me show you a pan view. Okay, the final thing I'm going to show you in this model is that I would like to just show you how we deal with other things like foundations. So if I come down to the bottom here, you can see that I have a foundation view. Now I can select columns, I can choose to insert pad bases or maybe pile caps for example. I'm going to set some pile caps up here. Allowable working loads and so on for piles can be input, and then we will then batch design these in one go. So all those pile caps are done. We can group these, and then if I just hit OK though, you can see that all the piles pile caps are now designed, and then they've been produced. Now there's a range of different foundation systems we have in here, just depending on what it is that you want to do. So if you're doing raft foundations, or maybe piled rafts, or strip footings, pad footings, these can all be easily created in the model. Okay, and I've just set out a raft there, which I could mesh and move into the design if I want to. Now at this point, I'm going to start to create my documentation. So to do that, I'm going to move into Prota Details for starting to look at my concrete detailing. And I'm also going to show you Prota Steel. Okay, so it's just now going to open up the Prota Details application. I hope that just gives you a bit of an idea of how this works and how quickly you can work with models to develop them. At this point, I'm now going to move in and start to create our drawings. Okay. All right, so it's just loading Prota Details. You can see it's loading in the background there. And then I can bring this to the front. Now I'm going to ask it to automatically come in and create my drawings for me. So I can choose what I want to draw here, say form plans, column elevation, beam elevations, foundations, and so on. I can choose to insert this to a sheet, and you can come and choose your title block. So this would just be your standard company title block. Okay. Now there's different preferences in here that you can set. Maybe, for example, I want to truncate the beams in a certain way. Okay. I can play with scales in here. Line types and layers can all be worked with. But the idea is once you've done this, I then want to create. So I'm just going to come now, and we're going to create all of our drawings. Okay. And it's now going to move through and batch produce these in one go. Okay. So it's now drawing this up. See that some of those drawings have been created for you. Okay. It's just finishing off. It's reasonably quick.
ครับก็อยู่ในขั้นตอนการ generate drawing อัตโนมัติจากสิ่งที่ดีไซน์ไปแล้วเมื่อกี้นะฮะวิเคราะห์ไปแล้วเมื่อกี้
Now Prota Details is a CAD system. It works in DWG, and you can draft in Prota Details as well. But it's finished. And if I come out here, can you see all those drawings that have been created automatically from that model? Okay. So if I come in here, you can see our foundation drawings, our foundation plan. Okay. You can see key plans here with openings and drops and so on indicated. This is your title block. This would be set out your title block and it would lay out into your sheets. Okay, you have other drawings like set out plans against grid, so you can see where things would be constructed. Okay, other information like there you can see the opening that we had in that wall, and you can see the detailing that would be required around that opening. Okay, you can also see things in elevation. So here you can see the columns, and you can see the containment links that have been detailed there for those columns. So you can draw those in elevation if you wish. You can also show schedules, and we will automatically group the columns for you so it knows what's similar. All the grouping will be done for you. You can see your wall details there. You can also see your beams here. So you can see the beam detailing that we're providing. Okay, all that will be drawn out for you. Okay, what you may notice here, if you can see that these are 16 bars and it's positional mark 10. Okay, if you come over to the table here, there's 6 of those. There's 6.65 metres in total, and there's 39.9 metres in altogether, and there's the bar bending schedule for you. Okay, now we know for this drawing here there's 1951.8 kilograms of steel, so everything is being quantified here. Okay, now these are objects and they're dynamic, so if I click on this is an object. I can change this bar if I want to. Okay, in here we can work with this to update the schedules. Okay, sorry, just give me a second. My computer's running a little bit slow. You can see I've changed that. Okay, but simultaneously that's now a 22, and simultaneously these quantities have been updated at the same time. So everything in here is dynamic. Okay, all the drawing creation is dynamic, and you can work with it. Now, as I mentioned to you before, that this is a CAD system. So if I want to change the detail, I can just come in. You can move things around. Okay, you're in CAD. you can do your own drafting in here as well. So you can happily come in here and draw up things if you want to add extra details and so on. We have some tools in here that you can use to help you work with things like rebar. So if I wanted to perhaps lay out a certain size rebar in the model here, then I can draw these in. So think of this like AutoCAD, and we've got a few tools that can help you with things like drafting that you can use. Okay. There's other ways information can be presented. You can present it in schedules. Okay, some markets quite like this because it saves the engineer time with having to draw everything out. You can come right down to looking at your foundation details as well. So all these can be drawn up. Okay. Now there's other things in Prota Details which I'm not going to have time to show you today, but we have component design for things like retaining walls and pile caps and all sorts of things in here. But that gives you an idea of how Prota Details works. And the final thing I'm going to touch on is Prota Steel. Now once I've done the steel design, I can then move into Prota Steel. I'm going to load this. Okay, it's just going to load up the system, and it's going to bring the model into Prota Steel. Okay. Now once we've got the model in here, okay, I can then move in to start to look at the steel connection design and detailing. Now what you might notice along the top here, can you see that there's a range of different types of connections that you can work with? So end connections, fin plates, moment joints, splice connections, gusset plates, welded joints, purlin connections. All of these are different types of connections that we can work with in Prota Steel. And what I can do in here is I can start to work with creating things. So if I wanted to, for example, create some sag rods, I can just click and put these in the model, okay, and the sag rods are then designed, okay. If I choose maybe a purlin, I can just click and we can create a purlin connection there, okay, and you can just quickly come in and set these out. If I want to trim that sag rod there, I can just come in and choose the relevant connection and it will be done, okay. Now, if I come to this joint here, maybe I'd like to put in an end plate connection. Okay, and that's now done. Now, underneath this, we're actually doing design. So for a lot of the standard connections in here, we are actually creating the design documentation, and all the underlying calculations for this connection will be are being performed. So you can see detailed reports here of all the different checks that are being done in satisfying all the code with relation to that connection design. So we're doing this automatically as we design the standard joints in here. Now you can probably understand that if I had to detail out all this whole model, it would take some time. So what we've introduced with this version is a new platform called IntelliConnect. So I can select the model and I can choose to run IntelliConnect. And maybe I want to quickly detail out all my purlin connections. So I can choose type of purlin joint I might want. Okay, maybe I've got an overhang at the end, and then I can get it to run. So now it's going through and designing all the purlin connections in one go. Okay, and if you look at the model here, you might just see that they've all been connected up there. Okay, all those connections have been made. Okay, and maybe I'd like to just select the truss here. And we go to IntelliConnect, and I can run the truss connection design. So it's going to go through and make all those connections that it can in the truss model. Okay, so this is so that's done, and you can see what's been achieved there. If you come in there, you can see that those have been connected. Okay. Now we do have a few unique connections in here. Sometimes this type of scenario here can be quite a challenge, and we have unique connections that can deal with those situations. So you can see there that I've put another joint in there, which is a bit. Let me just select it so you can see. So you can see the detail there. Now these are macros, and if you don't like what it's produced, you can come in and edit. You might just see that the bolts there are just sitting up a bit, so I might want to drop them maybe 15 mil below. Okay, and you can see that that's now brought those bolts down. Okay, now once I'm happy and I've designed everything, you will then want to come and create your drawings, right? Your details. So in here, I can choose to select what I want to detail out, and we have this little box here it's a magic box, and you can come in here and choose. So I could call this truss 1, and then I can just select the objects that I want to be in the connection details. So let's just run around and choose these objects. If I right click there, can you see that there's a box created around this joint? And what this box allows you to do is take different views and perspectives of the connection. So I might want to just look down on top of the connection. I might be happy with that view there. Maybe instead of the top, I want to look at it this way. So I can just choose the views that I would like to see. Okay, you can also have a little 3D view as well of that joint. If that's what you'd like to create. So once I'm finished, I might at this point just want to create details, and I can choose to create different views. I'm going to set up a view of this truss, so you can see I've cut a section through there to create that view. Okay, and we can then come in and create our steel details. So I'm going to create a drawing called truss. Okay, and then I'll keep that view. These views are set off across here, and I can see the view of that model there. Okay, and you can see the truss view there. Now you can work with this once you've done this. You can work with this and dimension things out. Okay, so you can create detailing there. But you'll see that this is the connection and that we created, and you can see there's a box around there. Now if you just click on the box here, it will then detail those out for you, so you can see different views of that connection of being created. A little 3D view, a little perspectives here. The nice thing about these labels is that they're all dynamic, so you can move them around if they're not pictured the way you'd like to have them. Okay, but the idea from here is that you can then use these to come in and create different views, and you can come in and dimension off and show what it is that you want to show within the model. Okay, so that gives you an idea about how Prota Steel works. I can actually go right down to fabrication detailing. I can break all these components out, and we can get the full fabrication drawings from this one physical model here. Okay, and you can have it's a partial view of that, but then we can see the whole model here. Okay. Now these can be communicated out. If I want to send this out as an IFC export, maybe you'd like to send it into ArchiCAD, for example, then you can take it through the IFC route. Okay. So that summarises what I just wanted to touch on briefly today. Okay, I don't have a lot of time, but I hopefully that will be of interest. Just to conclude, we are looking at. Can I move to this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So just to conclude, we are looking at releasing the 2019 version, which I've previewed today, will be released into Thailand very soon. In a few weeks' time, you'll have it, and you'll be able to start taking advantage of the technology. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for inviting me. I will be outside later. If you want to ask any questions, I'll be around. Otherwise, you can always direct questions to Somsak and his team. Thank you.
ครับดูแล้วเป็นไงบ้างฮะสุดยอดเครื่องมือสำหรับ Structure Engineer นะฮะท่านทำแบบได้ภายใน2นาทีนะเมื่อกี้นะรอแป๊บเดียวมาเลยไม่ได้เตรียมไว้นะครับอันนี้สดๆเลยนะครับก็โบต้าครับเป็นเครื่องมือตัวใหม่นะครับซึ่งค่อนข้างทรงพลังนะฮะคือดีไซน์ได้ drawing อัตโนมัตินะครับแล้วก็เนี่ยอย่างสติลจอยดีไซน์อะไรอีกโอ้โหซึ่งเชื่อว่าถ้าอยู่ในมือถูกผู้ถูกคนเนี่ยรับรองงานแบบว่าเสร็จเร็วมากๆนะครับโอเคครับขอบคุณครับสำหรับไนเจล thank you very much